Welcome to Sold with Webinars, a podcast that aims to uncover how the most successful experts, coaches, consultants, and e-course professionals sell their products and services with just one sales presentation or webinar. A simple sales webinar can transform the business and life of a solopreneur. And this podcast will show you how other experts just like you are generating 6 and 7 figures per year online with their webinars. So let's get started. Hey, what's going on? It's Joel, and welcome to another episode of Sold with Webinars. Now, you guys are going to love this episode. I just got finished up doing a solo podcast specifically regarding the art of storytelling. Now, this isn't your typical storytelling exercise that you have probably heard. In fact, I'm going to show you why what you're probably doing in terms of stories is wrong as it relates to your webinars. And the reason why I created this special episode was because over the past 5 webinars that I've reviewed for my private clients, they've all been falling into this simple trap of the hero's journey story. The hero's journey is a very popular story that most marketers tell you to use. And in fact, I show you when and where to implement the hero's journey and the single most common mistake people are using when they use the hero's journey. So let's jump right into today's episode. I know you're going to love it. What's going on, experts? It's Joel here, and today I've got a very special solo episode that I want to jump in and talk about because I'm getting a lot of, I should say I'm getting, a little bit frustrated with some very, very common mistakes that people are making when it comes to recording and telling stories in their webinars. And so I want you guys to understand something about the art of storytelling. And so in today's episode, we're going to talk about a very, very common and major mistake that people are making in their webinars that I can guarantee you are hurting their conversions. Let me ask you a question, right? How many of you have ever heard the idea of the hero's journey story, right? You have to tell the story about how you got started and what your struggle was and whether you're teaching people how to build business or you're teaching people how to get healthy, but sharing your hero's journey story to help connect with your audience. If you've studied any sort of marketing, people are telling you that you have to share your hero's journey story to connect with your audience. And I'm here to tell you that that is a bold-faced lie. So here's what I mean. When my clients come to me, they've got a webinar. Most people are driving to cold traffic to their sales webinar. Now, if you think about it in the mind of the audience or the prospect, they're clicking on an ad. Hey, sign up for this free training. I'm going to show you the simple secrets to building a better life, blah, 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 right? So they're clicking on this ad. I want to learn this secret, and I'm going to show up at the date and time of the presentation, and we're going to go from there, right? And I'm going to learn all this great stuff. So you show up, you log onto the webinar, and the presenter starts their presentation. So they go through the typical welcome sequence. Hey, welcome, thanks for joining. We're going to be getting started, and you start to see the same formula over and over and over again. You sit down on the webinar, and for the first 10 to 15 minutes, you are waiting for them to get into the meat of the content. They're telling you what you're about to learn. Are you in the right place? And then all of a sudden, they go into this long, drawn-out story about who they are, where they came from, what were their struggles, and why they discovered this secret. After studying hundreds of webinars and knowing the results of many of these webinars, like when somebody purchases a webinar breakdown call from me and they've already got an existing webinar, I can guarantee you 90% of them have this hero's journey in the beginning. Now, let me explain something to you. When somebody signs up for a webinar, they're looking to learn whatever it is that you promised them. And the longer that you take to get to that content, the lower your conversion is going to be because people are going to get bored and people are selfish. They do not give a crap about who you are and what your journey is. Now, that's not to say that the hero's journey is not important. I just don't feel that your hero's journey is important to a cold prospect who's never heard of you before, who has never dealt with you before, and has been enticed to join this presentation to learn your secrets, right? As you start to build that bond and that relationship, your hero's journey does have a specific place that it goes in your marketing. And I'm going to share that with you in just a minute. I want to get clear and explain to you what needs to happen in the very beginning part of your presentation. And this can be very, very short. In fact, your introductions should be no longer than, 10 to 15 minutes at the very, very most, because you don't have your audience's attention for that long. So what should you be putting in the beginning part of your presentation? Well, when you do talk about yourself, it is important to build up your authority. Now, when you build up your authority does not necessarily include your struggle. Nobody cares about your struggle, but what they do care about are your credentials. What are your results? Why are you talking about this? And what can you teach your prospect? What type of results have you gotten for other clients? Have you helped X number of people in the past achieve that certain result? Have you been featured in any, magazines? Do you have podcasts? Do you have your own media platforms to share your message with? All of that is what you put in your introduction. But for you to spend time wasting your audience's attention on, oh, and by the way, let me tell you where I came from. 4 years ago, I was, an unemployed, college dropout who was just kicking the tires and working at McDonald's for $8 an hour and really didn't have anywhere to go with my life. And I thought that I was a failure, and I thought my family was going to hate me, and blah, 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 blah. I've seen so many people waste 10, 15, 20 minutes sharing this story, and I'm just like, I don't care, right? When you have an ice cold prospect who is looking to learn from you, they could care less about your journey. You have to give them value as quickly as possible and earn their trust to be able to continue to earn their attention. Now, people are going to pay attention to you if you've been able to adequately establish your authority, capture their attention and say, you need to pay attention to this because here's what I've done for other people. I've sold my business for $3 million. I've built 4 other $1 million businesses. I consult with the top experts in XYZ space. And I've developed systems to help maximize whatever I'm sharing with you on today's webinar. That's what they care about because that's going to get them excited. But your journey is not going to get them excited. So let me ask you another question. I told you earlier that you can use your hero's journey in a specific spot within this webinar. Any idea where you would put it? Well, I want you to think about something, okay? Everyone has a hero's journey. Everybody does, right? You can craft it. It is important, but you need to know where to put it. So let's go through a scenario here. You've sat on a webinar, and let's say the webinar was great and you're really interested in buying whatever it is that the offer is, right? So you've gone through the introduction. Let's say the introduction was about 10 minutes. You got really excited about what you're about to learn. You realize you're in the right place. Like, this is very relevant stuff to you. You've gone through the content. The content was amazing. You can see how this stuff can work for your business or for your life. And then they get to the offer and let's say the offer is a $1,500 product and you're like, okay, cool. Well, I'm considering it. I can see how this could help me, but you're going back and forth and you're wavering, and they go through the bonuses. They go through everything that's included in the offer, and they're getting closer to the end of the presentation. And you're not sure yet. $1,500. Yeah, that's a lot. In your mind, you're thinking, I'm not sure if this is the right, I'm just not sold yet. I don't know if this guy or this girl, is really the person that I want to be learning from and implementing this system. So you're sitting there and you're going back and forth, and they're sharing more testimonials of people who've had success. And you're like, oh yeah, I can see myself doing that. But then all of a sudden, they reveal the price and they go through the whole pitch. And then all of a sudden the presenter says, well, okay, you're probably sitting on this webinar right now, wondering if this is the right product for me, wondering if this is really going to work for me. But why should you pay attention to me? Like, why should you learn from me? There's lots of other gurus out there. There's lots of other courses out there. But why should you learn from me? Well, let me tell you, 6 months ago, I was in the exact same situation that you're probably in right now. And now the presenter starts to go through their hero's journey, and they go through in more detail. You've now spent about an hour to 90 minutes with this person, and they've wowed you with their content. And you've earned the right to listen to a little bit more about where this person came from so you can build that level of trust. And they start to share their hero's journey. And the hero's journey relates to exactly where you are right now. And you can see yourself going through the same situation that they're going through and how they used this system that they're teaching you to get out of the current situation and turn their life into a better one. So they spend about 5 minutes or so sharing that hero's journey, sharing that struggle, sharing that solution, and how this system they just taught you got them out of that rut. Now you're like, okay, wow, I believe in this person. Like, this guy went through so much struggle, so much of the other struggle that I'm going through right now. Like, okay, I believe him. You see how that changes the dynamic entirely versus putting that hero's journey in the very beginning of the presentation when they don't give two craps about who you are. They just want to come and learn what you promised to teach them, versus putting it towards the end of the presentation and putting it in the Q&A section that says, hey, so you've heard my situation, you've heard my content, but right now you're probably asking yourself, well, why should you buy from me? Why should you learn from me? And then they go through and they spend 5 minutes or so talking about their hero's journey. You see how powerful that is? How much more powerful it is just by putting it in a different spot? You want to get them to the content as quickly as possible and then spend time backfilling all of your backstory to connect with them and build that bond. Guys, I'm telling you, if you implement this, this is so much more powerful than spending 10 or 15 minutes at the beginning of the presentation when they really have no interest in who you are. They are selfish. They are only in it for themselves. It doesn't matter what your audience is. Your audience is only in it for themselves. So implement that into your webinars. I promise you, it's going to flow so much better, and your conversions are going to skyrocket. That's what I've got for you today in our solo podcast. And I know if you implement this, you are going to see dramatic results within your webinar. So thank you for tuning in today, and we will see you on the next episode. Go put your hero's journey at the end of your presentation, and I would love to hear what your results are. Thanks so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed today's episode, and we look forward to giving you the next one. You can also follow and watch the behind-the-scenes look at how I'm personally launching a brand new 6- and 7-figure product from scratch at soldwithwebinars.com/TV. And if you'd like to come hang out with other fellow experts, join our Facebook group at soldwithwebinars.com/experts. Join us next time, and I'll see you there.